Hi, welcome to Divermus Mysterious, the podcast from Yugoth. Today we're playing a scenario called Whose Fuel is Men and Stones, written by Jason Williams. It's from the anthology Fierce Sharp Little Needles, put out by Stygian Fox. It's all modern scenarios for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. And this is a single-player game for one keeper and one player. Fairly peculiar, but I'm excited to run it. My name is Carl, and we have playing...
Alex.
Alex.
Who will be playing the character Simon Malone, recently graduated high school in Sydney.
And Simon's going on a little trip, a bit of a gap year to London. Simon Malone, wearing his fairly unkempt, ash-stained black suit, stood outside a small committal service. Only about 10 people were there gathered. James's closest friends and family. Simon was there in attendance with his arms slung around James's girlfriend. He was called upon to give a eulogy by the family, who were too distraught to speak. Simon is notoriously stoic, showing little emotion. They figured he would be the one that was able to say something as the soil was cast across the coffin top.
Closed casket.
Well, they're always closed while you bury them.
I don't really have anything planned, but I suppose I can share a few memories. James, or Jimmy, or James Valerie, as we knew him. He was my oldest friend. We used to play together all those years ago in school. In fact, even as babies, we played. We used to sneak off during lunch and recess down to the out-of-bounds area. And we used to circle the big old oak tree down in the corner. The roots twisting. Anyway, sorry. James, he was one of the funniest guys I've ever known. He had just such a quick wit and such a bright smile. These big ears protruding from his head, and he was such a laugh, and it pains me to know that I'll never hear another one of his silly quips. The manner of his death was, quite horrible, as you know, and in those final days, it was difficult to see him in the hospital, and I'd like to thank those friends and family who came and visited and gave flowers and Jimmy. Goodbye.
As the grave digger heaves a large shovelful of dirt across the coffin, the priest, standing with a narrow and composed face, said, "Forasmuch as it hath pleased Almighty God, of his great mercy, to take unto himself the soul of our dear brother James, here departed, we therefore commit his body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust, in sure and certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen."
Amen.
You make to leave the funeral, the committal, and as you walk toward your car, a broken down old Volkswagen Golf from 1989. James's mother, Linda, approaches you with a small manila envelope. Puts it in your hand.
Alex, James wrote this before he passed. He wanted me to give it to you. It has your name on it. I'm not sure what's inside, but he said you'd understand.
I'm not sure I do, but...
Well, you'd probably best read it first.
Thanks, Linda. I'll see you around.
Yes.
I take the manila folder and trying to keep my composure, give her a little hug and then turn away, open the car, get in, and then flick open the folder.
Inside you find a letter, scrawled hastily by a trembling hand on napkins, the only paper that was readily available to James in the last day of his conscious life. It's smeared alternately with ink and some kind of bodily fluids, perhaps
Jimmy.
Perhaps pus or whatever was breaking through the sores. And you can also see soot and charcoal swiped across the page from the burns on his skin. But the words are legible nonetheless, and you recognize his handwriting. Simon, we always talked about going to London together one day. You and me, going to the museum, going to the canals, doing all the things we wanted to do. And I'm sorry, bud, but I'm not going to make it. I've put some money aside to pay for your ticket and your hotel stay. There should be enough for you to go for about a week or two and have some spending money while you're there. I won't need the money where I'm going, and I figured this was a good use. Do us both proud. James.
A single tear trickles down onto the paper. And I have a brief moment of happiness, which passes quickly. And then I throw the manila folder on the passenger seat and drive off.
You pass the next few days researching your trip, booking your tickets, and planning to leave, packing your bags, saying your farewells. And when you finally arrive at the airport, you feel a weight lift from your back, as though you'd been carrying something heavy with you for the past days and weeks since James died. You feel a sense of hope and positivity as you board the plane and see Sydney grow smaller and smaller and smaller as you lift into the air. You take the complimentary Corona given to you by the air hostess, and after drinking it, fall back into a deep sleep. The best sleep you've had, actually, in a long time. You've been plagued by terrible dreams since James died of fire, of burning, and of molten flesh and ashes filling your mouth so that you can't speak or breathe. But today, you get some respite. And by the time you open your eyes, you're halfway to London.
Not plagued by any horrible dreams?
Not tonight.
Okay. All right. I've just picked up a new diary at the airport, and yeah, I feel like I'm turning a new page. I write
That's strange. As you pick up your diary to write in, you find the book is not what you expected. It's been maybe swapped or misplaced. Maybe you picked up the wrong book, but in front of you is a copy of the Quran.
I look down the aisle.
Are you looking for anyone in particular?
No, just looking around, and then I I flicked through the Quran and, bemused, put it back into my bag and...
Well, as you flick through the Quran, you find one of the pages is dog-eared, which is peculiar for an Islamic text.
Can I read it?
You can give me an Arabic check.
So I've got 15 Arabic
You
because
do have 15 in
I
Arabic.
had a Arabic girlfriend at some stage in my life. Convenient plot device. Okay, no, fail, 47.
You can't make it out. Well, looking around, there's a few Middle Eastern men on the plane, a few women also in hijabs, but you know it would be distasteful to approach them.
I don't think I could bring myself to do that. Maybe after a few more Coronas, though.
Well, that's what you do. You pass your time with a few more Coronas. They keep coming. You opted to buy tickets for business class rather than economy, so that you could stretch out your legs. And on this particular Qantas flight, because there was a 45-minute delay, all business and first class passengers have complimentary drinks to the value of $100. And you rack up quite a tab.
As I'm waiting to use the loo, there's a little line there, and in the line, the guy in front of me has a long beard. He looks a bit Arabic.
Yeah, he's wearing traditional, the white clerical dress. You think he's a devout Islamic man.
Excuse me, sir. I hope I'm not being rude or anything, but I just wondered if you could help me decipher this.
Not at all, not at all. You notice that he's old, very old. Looking at his face, he appears ageless, but you can tell he's well past 60.
My name is Jalil. And who are you, brother?
Simon Malone.
Simon Malone. Pleased to meet you. Tell me, what is it you want?
Well, look, I must admit I've had a fair few beers, and this Quran, I just found it in my bag.
Do you always carry my sacred text in your bag? Are you a Muslim?
Well, no, I must admit I'm not. It's just... I just found it in there. And
Then you are a seeker, or Allah has willed to show himself to you, brother.
I think about that for a moment. I don't really know anything about Allah, but can you... Just this page here, what does this say?
As you open the page and run your finger down to the highlighted section, he shows extreme distaste at the dog ear on the page and the highlighter that has run over the paper. But he holds his tongue, knowing that you are perhaps foreign to his customs. And his face goes white.
Simon, why have you drawn my eye to this section of the book?
What does it mean?
Verse 2:24. Then fear the fire, whose fuel is men and stones, prepared for the disbelievers. Simon, if the page were not marked so irreverently by highlighter and dog-earing, I would say that an angel of Allah himself were warning you, were giving you a sign to turn away and be saved, but I can only assume that the devil has done this, or some other man.
What does it mean? I don't understand.
It is a warning for those who live in unbelief, in godlessness, according to their own ways. It is a warning that there is a fire prepared for all who reject the will of Allah, that will burn eternally at the end.
Fuck you and your stupid Allah. My friend just died and he's not going to heaven.
Allah's will be done. Allah be praised.
I snatched the book off him and returned to my seat. Still needing to take a leak, but slightly embarrassed. Cause a bit of a scene. Sit down and maybe put on some in-flight entertainment.
You do, but after all of the Coronas, watching The Hangover 2 just puts you right to sleep. So you drift off in your armchair. You're plagued suddenly by horrible dreams of James. Toward the end, covered in sores and burns, but he's not in his hospital bed. He's in a big lake of fire, drowning, barely able to keep his head above the surface as the molten sulfur pours down his throat and into his lungs, immolating the hairs in his nostrils, but never seeming to burn him up. He tries to choke out a scream, but splutters as molten stone gushes from his lips, burning his skin, which, though it burns, does not burn away. When you awake,
There's
the
a
plane
stewardess.
is shaking.
A stewardess looking over me. You okay, sir? Sorry, just, can I get another Corona?
I'm sorry, sir, but the plane is about to land. I was coming over to tell you to put your seatbelt on. and,
Sorry,
we're experiencing a bit of turbulence, but we'll be coming down in London very soon. It's very cold. I'd suggest you
I
put
think
your
I'm gonna
coat
be
on.
sick.
You throw up over your lap. The woman looks at you with revulsion. Can you roll sanity for me?
19. Pass.
A rare pass. You'll just take one sanity damage as the dream haunts you, and the vomit on your lap produces extreme discomfort. The woman walks away, quite repulsed. You buckle up and prepare to land. The plane comes down with relative ease. It's never fun to land a plane, and the shaking only stirs up your stomach even more than it already was by all the beer. Peculiarly, as you disembark, you don't notice the man who you spoke with earlier. You keep your eye out for him. You've been looking for Jalil, but he's nowhere to be seen.
I make my way through customs embarrassed, covered in vomit, hungover. And as soon as I get my bag off the carousel, I rifle through it, take out my cigarettes, change my shirt, and stand outside Heathrow.
Looking around, you think you might need to put on a big winter coat. It's snowing outside, being late December, and it's Boxing Day, and the snow is coming down hard outside. Everybody's rising puffs of steam from their breath as they go about their day, and they're all wearing big winter coats. Did you remember to pack one?
Yes, I put on a thick trench coat with a sort of fur lining, maybe a fluffy lining.
As you walk outside, it's peculiar. You feel warm in your coat. Uncomfortably warm. In fact, as you stand outside by everyone else shivering, you can see icicles frozen in some of their beards. This is a freakishly cold London winter. So cold that some mirrors in shop fronts have shattered and made the news because of the differential temperature between the outside and the inside. So cold that the homeless community have been dying by the score. So cold that all of the boats in the canals have frozen in place, and children are ice skating on the surface of the Thames. You can't recall ever reading of a winter this cold in London. It's absurd. But you feel warm.
I make a small remark to someone standing waiting for a taxi about the weather, and they give me a weird look as I take my jacket off, tie it around my waist, and puff away on my cigarette.
Wearing a
Flushed cheek.
t-shirt out in the open winter is attracting of attention. People are giving you funny looks as though you're a madman. You hear someone walking past. Those bloody Australians will never put a jacket on, will they?
Fuck, I think I might have a fever. Jeez, I better get to London quick.
A taxi pulls up in front of you. The driver's a Russian man, speaks very little English.
Can I check the meter as I step in?
Oh, you can bet it's already been running for quite a while.
Oh well, James's money, not mine. I get a taxi all the way from Heathrow into the heart of London.
Yeah, all the way from
A black
Heathrow Airport. A black cab all the way to Paddington. It turns on a dime. And as you drive through London, you're struck by the scene. Old and new colliding together. Tradition and modernity. The bleak brutalism of the 70s alongside the beautiful, picturesque Tudor beam pubs that survived the London fires of 1666, some still with scorch marks upon the stucco on the surface. And then alongside these is humongous glass skyscrapers reaching up into the heavens like the Tower of Babel, so that you think that they might provoke the wrath of God and be cast down to the streets below. And you wonder, where did I get that thought? Why am I thinking about that?
Such a depressing holiday destination. Why didn't Jimmy tell me to go to, I don't know, the Bahamas?
You feel like you're in the Bahamas in the back of this black cab. The heater is blasting, and even so, the cabbie driver is wearing a big Ashanka and a big fleecy coat, and even then his breath is steaming, but you feel hot, sweltering in fact. Your trousers are uncomfortable and you've hiked them up mid-calf.
I roll down the window.
He turns around and screams something in Russian at you. Puta madre, stop! And you
I turn
back up, I
back up.
assume. Yeah. But you are sweating in that cab.
Fuck. Okay, and when we pulled up, I jump out and just throw some money at the guy and walk up to the hotel.
The Mercure in Paddington is a nice hotel. It's an old building that's been refurbished and refit. The original bricks of the building still bear some scorch marks from the Great Fires. Your eye is drawn to this almost supernally. You aren't sure why that thought crosses your mind, but it continually bounces back at you and grabs your attention. You enter the hotel, speak to the lobbyman, make your way to the room. You have a little swipe key that opens the door and powers it. It's uncomfortably hot inside, heated in fact. You wonder how the wallpaper isn't blistering and popping from the walls, and make your way quickly to the thermostat.
Yep, I turn the temperature down. Actually, can I open the windows?
You can.
Okay, yeah, I open the windows and...
The hot air billows out of the room as a gust flies in. Immediately, you can see frost forming on the windowsill where there was condensation. You think that with the windows open, you might well find this room an igloo in short time, but that wouldn't be such a bad thing. It's far too hot.
I look out the windows for a time, looking over the circuit board of London, looking down the traffic below, and then I take 3 sleeping pills, lie on the couch, and conk out.
Away you go. You don't register that you've fallen asleep. You have a sort of sleep paralysis moment as you lie in bed and see the walls around you burst into flame. Now the fire creeps up the wallpaper, is scorching the ceiling, ribboning it with stripes of black. You try to move, but you can't. Your arms, your body, your legs, they're fixed in place. You can move your eyes. You can breathe. That's about it. But with every breath, your lungs fill with smoke. Smoke. Smoke.
until just when you think you're about to die of suffocation, you wake up and realize that you've got a cigarette in your mouth.
Fire! Fire! What the fuck?
Can you give me a sanity check?
Jeez. I look at the back of the sleeping pills. Read the ingredients.
It's just diazepam. You take 2 sanity points.
Okay, I'm currently on 27. Okay, feeling drowsy. I stand up.
It's been about 6 hours, actually, since you conked out. Didn't feel that long. But it's got dark outside.
Okay, I go down the elevator, down to ground level.
So you open the door of your room and step out into the corridor. A woman is walking past with a Pomeranian dog in her bag. She looks over your shoulder into your room and sees the windows open, the curtains billowing, and frost and ice clinging to all the walls. She looks repulsed.
I sort of come out, just big sweat stains all over me, and just sweating and big bags under my eyes.
Red, clammy skin.
Look, lady, I've just been on a fucking 33-hour flight, and don't give me that look. And I go downstairs and walk through the streets for a time, looking for a pub.
Yeah, you wander the streets of Paddington, not for very long, before you come across a pub that looks good enough to you. The Prince of Wales. It's painted in a peculiar blue. Clearly it's an old building that's been renovated and rendered to conceal the original brick. But you can still see the shape of an old English pub under that modern dress it's wearing. And it advertises to have the best fish and chips in London. But then they all do, don't they?
I'm not hungry anyway. I go in, find a space just in the back and sit for a time. And then I feel a lump in my pocket. It's that bloody Quran again. I throw the Quran in a bin near the bathrooms, and then I go up to the bar and order the coldest brew they have on tap.
Yeah, they pour you an American beer. Most of the English ales are served at room temperature, but they have a good IPA. The bartender doesn't make eye contact, but keeps his face down as he pours you a drink. He seems to snigger as he notices you wearing a t-shirt and appearing to sweat. You think you hear him murmur "bloody colonials" under his breath, but as you make your way to the table, you're stopped by a very beautiful Middle Eastern looking woman. She reminds you a lot of your ex-girlfriend, actually, only more slender, taller, and more mature. Like your ex-girlfriend's cousin you saw at the wedding you went together, but not the same girl, just the sense that she's your type, but more.
I sit at the bar and watch her out of the corner of my eye, have a few more beers, and maybe even a bit of pub food. And then, what's she doing? Is she with anyone?
She's approaching your table. She sits down across from you and wordlessly places on the table the Quran, which you threw in the bin, sliding it across the bar top. You know it is very offensive and disrespectful to put a book like this in the bin.
I'm sorry. No, I don't have any excuse. It's just, I'm not in a good frame of mind right now, lady. Simon.
Abdullah. Pleasure to meet you.
You too. I take the Quran and leaf through it, making a show of it, and then sort of put it back in my pocket.
Do you read the word of Allah?
Well, I try. Just a complete lie, but you know, I'm new to all this stuff. What's your take on it, Abdullah?
The book you're holding is not just a book, it is sacred. These words have the power to inspire men to great good, to prevent them from great evil, but if they are disregarded, then they will only be evidence heaped upon your judgment pyre at the end. Be careful when you read that you do what you read.
When she says the word pyre, I sort of flinch a bit. I take out the book again. What do you make of this? And I open it to the highlighted page.
As she runs her eye down the page, you see the same look of general revulsion
I didn't do that.
Jalil had when he saw the dog ear and the highlighter on the paper, but she lifts an eyebrow at the words. This seems fortuitous for you that you have received such a warning. Where did you come across this book?
It was just in my bag. I just found it and...
It says, "Then fear the fire, whose fuel is men and stones, prepared for the disbelievers." Allah Akbar. I believe that God is speaking to you, Simon. You should listen to him.
It's so hot in here. Look, I'm going to go outside and have a cigarette, lady.
She grabs your wrist. Please, why not come with me for a walk?
Yeah, sure. Just let's go. I pay the bar tab and
It was cheap because she wasn't drinking any alcohol. But no, she walks with you out of the bar, leading you by your hand into the street. Whereas all of London feels hot and clammy, even amid this ice and snow, Abdullah's hand is cool to the touch. And as she holds your hand, you feel a cool comfort spread over you until you almost feel normal. I stress almost. You're still wearing a t-shirt in a snowstorm, but with her you feel at ease. Her voice seems to have a cooling character too as she speaks to you. Simon, why have you come to London? You look distraught.
Am I dreaming?
No, Simon, this is not a dream.
I look back
Here, and she pinches your skin very hard all of a sudden.
Ouch. It's a holiday, I suppose. It's a friend of mine recently passed away and left me a little bit of cash. We had these plans, you see, London, visiting the galleries and the museums and...
Man makes his plans and God laughs, no?
I suppose you could say that, but I don't understand this stuff.
And where is your friend?
6 feet under.
She stops and looks up in the air and says, Allah Akbar, and gestures in prayer. I am sorry to hear this, Simon. How did he go?
Look, I prefer not to talk about it. What do you do with yourself?
Very well. I am not so interesting. I am a student here on exchange.
Yeah, and what do you study?
Architecture. I come from the University of Lebanon. I am here in London on a visit to see the beautiful way in which the modern has built alongside the old. I have particular interest in the way the city was rebuilt after the great fires. You know the fires of which I speak?
I think, yeah, I heard something when I didn't pay attention much in school.
There was a vision for this city once, you know, plans drawn out like Great Paris. Have you been to Paris?
Not yet, no.
The streets and the cities are all planned, all built by the government. The roads make sense, the blocks make sense, but here in London, she sort of looks around with a mix of admiration and disdain. Nothing makes sense. The streets seem to burst out of one another chaotically, like bursting blood capillaries and clots. The buildings are stacked on top of each other like misfitting Lego blocks. It is absurd, and do you know why the city was built this way?
It just happened that way, didn't it?
That is astute. Yes, it just happened. There was no vision, no direction. It just happened. This was not a planned city, Simon. It was built by landowners, and the government of England was perhaps too virtuous, or I think rather too cowardly, to take the titles from people, to take the land to claim, or to force people to submit to its projects and developments. It had a chance after the Great Fire. When all was burnt down, it could have been made beautiful. This is the advantage that chaos brings, Simon. Destruction brings an opportunity for something new, don't you think? But the people of London continued in the same transgression, the same selfish and arrogant pride. They insisted on owning their own blocks. There is a saying in the Hebrew Bible that in a time of great evil, every man does as he sees fit in his own eyes. That is how you build a city like London. And she spits.
I take my hand out of hers. Well, it's fascinating. I can see you're really passionate about this stuff. Where are you staying at the moment?
That's funny that you should ask. You can see my home from here. And she points at the canal that you're strolling along. She points at a small boat anchored on the canal. It's short and narrow, the kind of boat that you see everywhere in the canals of London, that people live in because it's cheaper than renting an apartment.
Wow, that's so cool.
It is called the Raghad. Can you give me an Arabic check?
Yeah. Ooh.
That is a
That's
1.
a 1.
That is a 1. That is a critical pass.
Mm.
Now, Raghad means comfort in Arabic. And as you respond immediately with the translation of the name, she seems impressed with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose you're quite a pious young lady, and, well, I don't mean anything by it, but do you think I could check out the inside of your boat?
Perhaps another night. She seems suddenly quite taken with you, and a blush crosses her cheeks, but she says, I would have to get to know you first. How did you come to speak my language?
I knew a girl once, and she taught me a few things.
Well, then you're a man of great taste. Nonetheless, perhaps you will see the Raghad in time, but I know a place that does excellent gelato.
Mm-hmm.
You look quite hot. Perhaps we should go for a stroll back into Paddington and have a sit.
Yeah, I think I'm coming down with something. Thanks.
The rest of your night with Abdullah passes wonderfully, magically. You're transfixed by her hazel green and brown eyes that seem to shift and change by the direction of the firelight as you sit by the large gas fire outside at the gelato restaurant. You sit as far as you can from the flames. But you're drawn in, despite your unseasonable warmth, by the way that the flames dance and alight off her harsh features, her stark nose and high cheekbones. They seem to throw mesmerizing shadows at strange angles that are at once feminine but also strange and alien. Her lips fixate you, and you become hypnotized. You don't remember much of what the conversation was about. That seems secondary. You can remember a long stretch of talking about stars, star signs, and astrology, which you would have thought too superstitious. But Abdullah, nonetheless, is interested in these things. And she points at a large red star glowing between a cluster of towers on the horizon. Do you see that star over there?
Venus?
No, it is a star.
Yeah.
Ifrit. It is visible for only 1 week a year here in London. It is beautiful, don't you think?
I'm just sort of caught in her eyes and don't really have anything to say.
You can see reflected on her eyes as she looks out over the horizon this strange red star fixed right in the center of her pupil.
I pull myself away from her and look into the sky, searching for it.
It's immediately visible. Far brighter than any other star in the night sky. The moment your eyes roll across it, they seem to be stuck, like driving a truck through mud. Your eyes become locked on to the glowing orange sphere that seems to be spreading out its tendrils of light and flame into the expanse around it, creeping nearer to London with every moment, but still remaining the same.
I try and look away, and I almost can't. I cover my face with my hands.
Yeah, that seems to break the spell. As you cover your eyes, you snap to attention. You feel cool hands on your wrist, and your hands are slowly brought back down onto the table. Filling your vision is the face of Abdullah, who looks at you with a wry smile. It is a beautiful star, Simon, but you seem hypnotized by it. Perhaps I should walk you home. You look like you need some sleep.
Yeah, I just took a boatload of sleeping pills, and I don't know what's got into me. I'm sorry, Abdullah.
She thinks you're making a joke, and she gives a small laugh, but really you're being quite literal. You walk home and almost don't want to say goodbye at the bottom of the hotel where she says her farewells. She gives you a small kiss on the cheek as she turns away, and you get a quick breath of her perfume.
Wait, Abdullah, how do I, do you have a phone number? Or?
I will find you again tomorrow, don't worry.
Okay, good night.
Good night, and sweet dreams, Simon. Allah watch over you. And she walks away. You aren't sure if it's customary in her culture, wherever she's from. Lebanon, did she say? You can't quite remember. To kiss on the cheek between a man and a woman when greeting and farewelling. You aren't sure whether you should read into it or not, but you do. You make your way up to your room, sit down on your bed and feel the sleeping pills creeping up on you. And before you know it, you're asleep. Or you think you are. It seems like a half state. In your dreams, you're wandering the streets of London, but they aren't right. The angles are all wrong. You see a old English castle jutting out from a rocky outcropping on the Thames. The four walls of it have 5 spires. And as you try and trace them back down to the foundations of the building, it feels like your vision splits in two. This is a very strange dream, and you feel nauseous.
I try to wake myself up.
You can't. You wish you could, though, as the strange orange star in the sky grows brighter and brighter.
I run.
You run, but as you run, behind you, you feel heat. Lashings of fires, tendrils reaching down to earth from this strange orange star named Ifrit. Grab at people, grab at buildings, grab at the river, seeming to lap it up and drink it dry, while London burns around you. You wake up in a cold,
sweat, feeling clammy and hot, despite the fact that your room at this point is entirely frozen over. The blinds that were billowing before in the winter wind are now all fixed in place with ice blown inward and frozen into position.
I go to the tap and wash my face under the ice-cold water and take 10 big sips.
The tap is frozen solid, Simon. You turn the handle and nothing comes out. There's icicles hanging from the faucet.
What's happening? What time of day is it?
It's probably about 7 a.m.
Jeez, I gotta get to a hospital. Heard the NHS is alright.
St. Mary's is only around the corner.
Okay, I head out. T-shirt, shorts, and sandals to the hospital.
You aren't quite sure why you brought those, but it's convenient that you did. As you make your way down the street, people stop and stare at you. Can you give me a sanity check?
Okay. 45, fail.
You take 6 sanity damage. And madness suddenly catches up with you. You aren't sure if you're in the dream or the real streets of London. Looking around you, you can barely draw any distinction between the dream you had last night and the sights around you now. People and faces rushing by, seeming appalled and equally indifferent to their inevitable fate as Ifrit, the star, looms bright in the morning sky, still shining despite the rising sun. You aren't sure how any star could be so bright, so strong, and you can't remember ever hearing about it or reading about it, but how peculiar that a star would glow all through the day and the night for only 1 week a year with this hateful orange color.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake me up.
You don't wake up, you're awake.
Wake me up!
You know that you're awake, Simon, and you are terrified of the fact that what you're seeing now with your eyes is real. People are walking and talking and going about their mornings indifferent to the fact that the star in the sky is at least twice the size that it was last night.
I look into a window pane of a nearby store, look at myself, with the sweat, bags under my eyes, burning
Through the
red.
window pane, as you look at yourself, you see faces lined up in rows and rows and rows and rows, stacked like bricks of a wall, looking back at you open-mouthed and screaming as their flesh melts away in flame, their eyes drip like wax. And suddenly, you realize that they're just the faces of the people walking by you on the street, reflected back.
What's happening to me? What's going on? Who are you? And I sort of push through the people and just basically in a frenzy at this stage. I lose one of my sandals and slip on the ice, sort of fall down to the ground, and then pick myself up, slip down again, and just sort of begin crawling away from something, looking over the back of my shoulder, looking behind me,
As
crawling
you look behind
away.
you can see the buildings in the street look different than you remember. Older. There were some Tudor-style buildings before, with the wooden beams and the jutting cantilever constructions leaning out over the street, and days before there were regulations on the second and third floors footprint. Here, all the buildings are of that period. All the streets are of cobblestone, and all the people are walking about in a very fantastical, archaic garb, dressed like medieval gentlemen and peasants walking around. You can see horsehair wigs and horse and cart carriages manically and frantically running from the flames.
I curl up into a ball and tug at my hair and what's happening? Shut my eyes.
You can hear the fire engines, the old pump wagons, and the
screams rising up from the tenement houses as people burn in their rooms, unable to escape or vacate from buildings that were never designed to have emergency exits, into streets that were never designed to have so many people pushed into them like human water in a pipe.
Fire! Fire! Fire!
Before you know it, you hear a cold hand caressing your neck.
Abdullah.
You look up and see her. Abdullah standing over you, and the fire's gone. The streets are returned to normal. And the star that was so bright in the sky only moments ago looks much as it did last night. Still ominous and leering, but no longer hateful and consuming.
I grab her hand, clutch it tightly, and just start weeping.
Oh my, what's happened to you, Simon? You must be sick. You look like you have a fever.
Yeah, I don't know. I took those pills. I need to get to the hospital.
Yes, well, you're almost there, Simon. We are just outside of it now. You must have made most of the way here before you broke down. Oh, you poor thing, please. She helps you up onto your feet. Your vision is blurry and your consciousness is fading in and out between a dream state and a waking state as you sit down in the emergency room and you're checked over by nurses. You hear doctors murmur words about seasonal disaffective disorder, post-traumatic stress. Someone says something about sweating sickness, but you aren't sure if that was in the dream or in the present. The rashes on your skin seem consistent with first-degree burns, and the doctors are puzzled by this, that much you know. They prescribe some sedatives and some Valium and some other mild anti-anxiety medications, but they can't find anything wrong with you otherwise, other than the mild burns on your skin.
I rest for a time, and as I leave the hospital a few hours later, clutching at a plastic bag filled with prescription medicines, I exit and look around for Abdullah, expecting to see her waiting for me.
Yeah, she is. She was waiting on the street across from the hospital, clutching a bunch of flowers and an ice cream. She's remembered the flavor that you liked from last night and bought you another. What is it?
Pistachio.
Pistachio. She has a pistachio ice cream, the choice of freaks, and she offers it to you uncritically.
Abdullah, thanks, I don't know anyone around here, and you've been an angel.
Of course, Simon. I am always happy to help. I feel that Allah has brought us together. Please, you should not be alone tonight. Why don't you come back to my boat?
Yeah, I'd love to. Let me just get my stuff and let's go.
What do you need to get? Perhaps there is no need.
Well... okay, do you have a phone charger?
Yes, I should. What kind of phone? Never mind, I probably have one.
In a daze, I just follow her.
Yeah, she leads you by the hand to the canals. As she does, you can see her texting on her phone. The display reads in Arabic. Can you give me an Arabic check?
28. Nah.
Right, you rolled a 28. You're going to spend some luck to bring that to a success?
Yep. I'm going to luck it, so I am now on 26 luck.
You can see on the screen that she's been texting with someone called Haytham.
Haytham.
It says, "Tonight is go."
Who's Haytham?
She looks at you with a strange look of recognition.
Oh, I forgot. You can read Arabic. I thought you'd read my mind for a moment.
I thought we were just going to relax tonight.
We are. Haytham is my cousin. I told him that I would see him later. But you don't have to come, it's okay.
Okay. Let's go.
She leads you down to the canal and to a small jetty at which is moored her boat. You step out onto the deck and you can see it has a little sunbed sitting, which would be beautiful any other time of year, but is poorly used right now. The door opens into a bedroom, which she gestures toward the bed and says, You can have a lie down now if you like. I will have to get some things ready in the gallery.
Oh, this place is wonderful. How do you keep it warm in the winter?
I don't. It is freezing in here, but nobody would know.
Feels warm enough to me.
Looking around the boat, you're struck by the fact that it is actually very beautiful and ornate. The walls are all lined with fantastic wood carvings. The carpets are beautiful Persian rugs laid over the nicely polished decking of the boat. And you can see along the wall some framed hangings of writing. They look like strange sigils or glyphs, bizarre shapes and strangely angled letters that don't look like Arabic or English.
What does that say, Abdullah?
She looks at you and looks at the wall and says, Oh, it is nothing, just calligraphy. It's something I like to do with my spare time.
Can I do a Arabic roll?
You can do an Arabic roll, or you can do an occult roll.
I might go for the occult then. Fail.
I have no idea. You think these are just childish calligraphy scrolls? You can see some kind of contours and lines that might make them appear enough like Arabic figures that they could be something written very fancifully.
Well, you have to teach me sometime. I don't suppose you have any beers in here, do you?
No, but there is some hashish in the cupboard by the bed.
Now you're speaking my language. I didn't take you for that kind of girl.
Well, it is quite normal where I'm from. Beer, on the other hand, is less savory. But please, help yourself.
Sorry, it's been a rough day. Where was it exactly you're from again? I'm so sorry, I can't remember.
I'm from Yemen.
Oh, Yemen. Isn't there something happening in Yemen right now?
I'm sorry, I haven't... I have to go next door into the galley just for a little bit. Please, lie down and help yourself.
I sit back and I start setting up the hookah, and I stop for a moment and try and listen to what she's doing in the next room.
Give me a listen check. I'll give you a 50 in listen.
No.
No idea. You can hear water lapping up against the sides of the boat, hubbub and traffic in the streets of London outside. Beyond that, nothing.
I stand up and look around, looking for the coals.
Yeah, there's some just in the drawer. There's coconut easy light coals.
I look in the other drawers as well when I find them. Can I do a spot hidden?
You don't need to roll for that. As you look through the drawers, you find things you'd expect to find, clothing, underwear and umbrella, ordinary things, bags. In one of the drawers, however, you do find a black knife that catches your eye. It looks like it's made of stone or obsidian, volcanic rock. It's roughly hewn into the shape of a knife. The pommel is set with onyx, black stones that are barely distinguished on the black obsidian
handle, but the craftsmanship is quite good, if not primitive.
Cool knife you got here.
You call out to the next room.
Yeah.
She calls back. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, nothing. I put the knife back in the drawer, close it. I sit down and get the hookah bubbling and take a drag. You want some of this?
No, I'm okay, thank you very much. As you take a drag, it's incredibly strong, incredibly potent, and the hashish sweeps over your body, calming you suddenly, so that you don't feel the blistering heat. It becomes more a gentle warmth.
Ah, it's better. It's been a while.
It is getting hotter, though. You think you can see scorch marks at the base of the wallpaper where it meets the floorboards, and blistered bubbles in the wallpaper too.
I stand up, go over, look at it, and then I open one of the windows and feel the cool breeze.
As you open the window, the cold air seems repelled from the room. It doesn't billow and blow in like it did in the hotel. Rather, the air is static and still, even with the window open, as though the outside has no willingness to come into this place. It sends a chill through you, which I suppose is what you intended, albeit in a different manner. Can you roll sanity for me?
Oh dear.
Yeah.
99.
That's going to be a fumble. Take 8 sanity damage.
Ugh. Okay, let's see. What am I on now? 8. So that is 13.
And I'm going to say that as paranoia in this moment would perhaps be a positive thing, for a bout of madness, Simon entirely accepts what is happening in his surroundings and feels at ease. You just feel a great willingness to go with the trip. You've been having strange visions and dreams and all these things brought about by stress and James's death and the funeral and the fever. You're not worried about the air in the boat, the scorch marks on the floor, or even the way that the strange runes and the hangings on the wall are beginning to glow a dull orange as the light of Ifrit beams through the ceiling light and seems to be soaked in by the runes. And none of this bothers you.
I sit back on the lounge and strong stuff, but jeez, I haven't felt this good in a week. Abdullah, you want to come sit down and relax?
Please, you come in here. I am ready for you now. I have prepared some things, she says, evocatively.
I stand up, pull myself off the couch, and turn the door handle.
Yeah, you turn the door handle with great expectation. There seemed to be a trembling eroticism to Abdullah's voice, as though she were inviting you to something. But what greets you on the other side of the door is less romantic.
What do I see?
At first, a camera set up on a tripod, facing in to the room toward a bed set up in the middle of the galley. That's a little bit freakier than you're expecting. A bit freakier still, as the door closes behind you unexpectedly, is the huge body of the naked man standing at your right. And the man on your left, completely stark naked, who you recognize to be Jalil. You're not sure who this other stranger is, but the other one you recognize from the plane.
What? What the fuck is going on here, Abdullah?
Jalil from the plane stretches a broad smile across his face. The other one, the big man, he has a large gut hanging down over his thighs, obscuring his genitals, but his nudity is nonetheless terrifying and confronting. Also smiles at you and says, "Please, I have not met you, but my name is Hashem. Thank you for coming." And the two men immediately pounce upon you, beginning to restrain your hands behind your back. You can see Abdullah on the other side of the room, fiddling with the camera, avoiding eye contact with you. Can you roll a fighting brawl as you try to stop these two large men from restraining you? You're going to have to roll it with disadvantage.
Okay. So a 15 and a 68. My brawl.
It's a shame you're so intoxicated, Simon, because you would have been able to wrestle yourself free had the hashish not so dampened your senses and sapped your strength. But as it were, Hashem easily overpowers you, and Jalil ties a masterful knot around your wrists.
What the fuck is going on here? Let me out of here. I'm a tourist.
Jalil puts his finger to your lips. "Salam, brother. It will all be over soon, and then you will be, if not at peace, then at least somewhere else."
I bite his finger as hard as I can.
Yeah, I'll just let you do that. You bite in hard, drawing blood from Jalil's finger, and he recoils away from you and then backhands you with his other hand. Ha! I will take extra pleasure in the things we are about to do.
I writhe around on the ground and I sort of try and crawl or, just get myself out through a window.
Yeah, you can't find a window that is open in this room. They're all shut. And writhing on the floor, you're impotent to move and struggle. You're completely powerless.
Oh, I think I've lost this one.
People looming over your writhing body.
Fuck you! Why me? Why me?
Simon, it is best not to ask why. What Allah wills, He does. And the two men lift you up onto the bed and begin to remove your clothing with large combat knives and tearing it from your body in strips. Ceremoniously, almost reverently.
Fuck you fucking pedos! Help! Help!
Jalil and Hashem have finished removing all your clothing. Abdullah is setting up the camera, just making her final adjustments, when Jalil turns and says something to her in Arabic, which she finds plainly distasteful as her face drops and she snaps back. Can you give me an Arabic check?
9.
That is a pass, Simon.
Yes.
And you recognize the words. Jalil says to Abdullah, "A video camera. It is forbidden to make an image of so sacred a creature as the Ifrit. You must not film what we are about to do." "But, Jalil, the filming is the whole point. If we do not film it, how will we be able to take credit for the attack?" "Abdullah, you care more about your social media and about your taking credit than you do the will of Allah. Ifrit must be born in London today. Whether or not we film it, whether or not the world knows who did it, whether or not ISIS can take the credit."
Before I do anything, I look over at Abdullah and I look at her. I'm stark naked, my hands tied with these two. They're naked too, aren't they? These creepy men. Two naked men. I look over her with a searching gaze just to see if there is anything there or if this whole thing has been a lie.
Can you roll psychology? I'll give you a stat of 30.
Okay. So, yep.
So you roll a 50 and spend a bit of luck to bring that up to a pass. Abdullah is immensely frustrated. Hashem is packing up the camera and turning it off, putting away the sound equipment, Abdullah is struggling with him, grabbing at his wrists, and you can tell that she's plainly dissatisfied with these two men. You can tell that there's perhaps some amount of sympathy toward you. Perhaps part of her frustration at these two men is directed toward what they're about to do in terms of the ritual. But you aren't entirely confident that she's on your side. She did lead you here after all.
So she's not having second thoughts or anything. Okay. I'm going to... basically, frenzied, I'm going to see if I can stand up and smash through the door back into the other room with the hashish. See if I can just put all of my body weight on the door and just, I've only got one shot at this, so smash through.
Well, you think that with all three of them in the room, it's going to be impossible to get up from the bed. However, can you roll luck for me?
25.
That's a fail. What that means is you've got a very small window. Not a good window, a very small window of time. Jalal is walking out of the galley and back into the bedroom to retrieve the knife. Haytham has taken the camera and is walking it into another room outside, into the lounge, the opposite door. There are two doors leading out of this room, one toward Haytham, one toward Jalal. And Abdullah alone is with you. You have about 10 seconds.
Okay. Now, is there any way I would be able to sort of slip my arms underneath my legs and bring my arms... Are my hands tied behind my back or just in front of me?
They're behind your back.
Behind my back? Is there any chance
with
I
a
could...
hard dex check, I'll let you pop your shoulders out a little bit.
Well, that's the first thing. That's the first thing I'm going to do. A hard dex, so that would be below 30. No, 53. Okay.
Can't get your arms out. You've wasted 2 seconds.
I stand up. Abdullah, please. Please.
She looks at you. Can you give me a charm stat? I'm going to give you 15.
25. And I don't have enough luck. I've only got 6 luck, so no.
I'm sorry, Simon, but it has to be.
Okay, I headbutt her. I just, put all my force in and smash her
Okay, give me a brawl check.
in the face. 82, which is a fail.
You swing your head toward her and she steps aside. You fall forward and break your nose on the hard floor of the ship, spurting blood in a mist, almost knocking you unconscious, but not quite. You're going to have one more chance to roll dice here.
Okay.
And see if Simon makes it out alive. Maybe. Can you please roll a luck check?
Well, I've only got 6 luck, so...
No, it's not likely.
No, 75.
I'm sorry, Simon, but Jalil and Haytham are back in the room.
Okay. So he's got the knife.
Oh yes, Jalil has the knife, and he lifts you back up onto the bed, places you down. Abdullah doesn't want to watch.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
She turns around and says goodbye and walks back into the bedroom where you came from. You're left alone with these two completely nude men, and the room is getting hot.
Fuck.
You've been in a sauna before. This reminds you of that without all the steam, though. It's a dry heat. It's a fiery heat. It's too close to the campfire.
Can I kick? I'm just kicking and screaming and
Thrashing wildly but impotently as Jalil effortlessly manages to hold your legs in place while Haytham traces the outline of a sigil upon your bare chest with the obsidian knife. It hurts, but it almost feels like a release as steam issues from the wound, like a let-off valve being opened. Your body is bubbling, writhing with heat. You can see the walls sweating, the wallpaper blistering. One of the windows explodes and shatters, throwing glass in all directions. As clearly the heat in here has grown so great that the differential with the outside is bursting the glass.
As the glass shatters, I roll off the bed.
Give me an extreme success on fighting brawl.
Wouldn't it be a dex?
No, because you're being restrained. This is a wrestle.
Okay. No, a 95. It's over.
It's over.
There's no shards of glass for me to grab and stab.
Jalil's smile broadens, and in his eyes you see flickering the orange flames of Ifrit. He grabs at the skin on your chest, which he's just drawn this incredible diagram on. It's this strange occult sigils and runes. This won't save your life, but do you want to roll occult? See if you can see what it is?
Yeah, sure. No, I cannot succeed.
And Simon's gonna die in ignorance.
Yeah.
Along with a lot of people tonight. As Jalil peels back the skin on your chest, exposing underneath a writhing lake of fire, bubbling sulfur and ashes. It looks like a window into the pit of hell itself. And from that pit in your chest comes a hand. It reaches out from that glowing flame, grabs onto your mouth as though finding some kind of edifice to pull itself out with. Its fingers burn into your chin and your skin, searing and blistering your flesh as smoke rises from the wound, and it pulls itself out. Your body seems to be deflating like a balloon as the creature crawls out from it, sapping your life essence and using up your flesh as fuel, your bones as its life source, as it writhes out of the gaping hole in your chest. You don't see this because Simon is entirely dead by the time the Ifrit has stepped out of his torso. But Jalil and Hatham are immediately terrified when the Ifrit standing before them refuses to submit to the command they issue. Whatever it is they say in Arabic, the creature seems not to understand. It looks back at them with indifferent eyes, each of them flickering with the light of the star. Something like a smile, if you could call a creature with 6 mouths smiling, creeps across what you presume is a face. And suddenly, half of London is immolated in flame. News travels around the world that up to 3 million are presumed dead. Half of London was burnt in what is considered to be not only the greatest terrorist attack in human history, but the single greatest death to a single incident that's ever occurred in human history. Greater than Pompeii, greater than the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The 2019 fires of London will dwarf the 1666 fires into relative obscurity, and the world was never the same thereafter.